Today we are with Ryan Morris, the baseball mechanic. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to sit down with us today.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you having me on.
First thing, if you were to go into a gas station, what would be your snack of choice?
So I'm always going in for an energy drink. Usually, I'm a C4. I'm an ultimate C4. I like the higher caffeine. Um, and I'm a chocolate fiend, so it doesn't matter. It can be random. It could be anything from just a regular Hershey bar to a Kit Kat to a Reese's. I'm just a big chocolate fan.
When you say C4, is there a specific flavor? I know they have a few of them. They have the rainbow one, and they
Yeah.
have a couple other ones too.
Yeah, my favorite's the Arctic Freeze. Um, I think that's what it is. Or yeah, I think that's what it's called. It's been a minute. I've actually been recently drinking. We have energy drinks over at Overtime. We have C4 ones, but there's a Gorilla Mind that we carry there. This has been my first experience with it, and there's this blackberry lemonade flavor that I'm obsessed with. So they don't usually carry that at the gas station. That's why I said that
Yeah,
one. But at Overtime, the blackberry lemonade Gorilla Mind is what I go to.
I think I think I remember you telling me something about those.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely my favorite.
uh, just to start off, just introduce yourself and talk about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So, I grew up in the Charlotte area, from when I was about 4 years old. Graduated from South Meck High School, played under Hal Bagwell, who's now at Indian Land High School. Amongst some other really great coaches in that area, like I played under Danny Hignite, who's at Providence High School now. And one of my favorite coaches, Coach Benavidez, Coach B, who is currently still coaching at the Ballantyne Ridge as an assistant. So a lot of the coaches I came up with, it's really cool to see them still engaged in the area of Charlotte. And I definitely am trying to look towards piggybacking off of them and staying in baseball and continuing to help this area for as long as they have because they had a huge impact on my youth. Um, I had an opportunity as an 18-year-old to step foot into professional baseball. So, well, let me backtrack a little. So I really started to realize baseball was going to be a future for me once I did get to South Meck High School my freshman year there. After my sophomore season, I committed to Clemson University. And at that time, I really had ambitions of trying to be a two-way threat in college. I thought I could have a chance to maybe play right field there. I used to have some texting conversations back and forth with the pitching coach there at Clemson at the time, which is Kevin O'Sullivan, who's now at Florida. But
Yeah,
Sully was a big reason at the time that I was excited about going to Clemson. And I'll never forget telling him, what do I got to do to, hit at Clemson? He said, you got to get faster. And I worked really hard at achieving that. And I ended up running a 6.7860 at the state games. And I texted Coach Sully telling him I was coming for somebody's job. Um, and so, fast track, not there long after actually running that 60 time, I had a really big tournament down in Fort Myers, Florida. This is when I was playing with what's now known as the Dirtbags organization. We were Impact Baseball before the Dirtbags, and I got an opportunity to pitch against the East Cobb Astros down there, and they
Down
were
there
the number one team. This was at Fort
say
Myers.
at Fenway South.
Yeah, I think that's actually, I think we were, for this game, I do think that's where we were at actually. I can't recall exactly, um, but yeah, so I was at that time, I mean, people knew of my name. I was, an early commit, but this East Cobb team was just loaded with talent, and I went out and just absolutely shoved in that Worldwood Bat Championship game and came off the field after I think I gave up only one hit through a complete game, shut them out. And I remember walking off the field and seeing my dad there standing with a whole line of professional scouts, just lined up behind him. And I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and he's like, "Do you know what you just did?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I shoved against one of the best teams out there." Like what I honestly just expected to do that game. I was fired up for it. But he said, "No, you did not throw a fastball below 91. You hit 95." And then I was like, "Whoa!" Like that wasn't anything I'd ever really like tried to do. I wasn't a guy that was trying to go out and just rip fastballs, but it was definitely some competitive juices that day in that game that definitely kind of put me on the map. And from that point forward, my whole recruiting process really changed. I mean, I was the earliest commitment of the 2006 class, college commitment for 2006 in North Carolina, and so I that went really fast for me. Like the recruitment process went very, very fast after my sophomore year. Um, I'd only pitched a little bit on varsity up and down. I was kind of a slasher between JV and varsity that year, but I proved myself enough on varsity pitching that I was ready for the D1 levels. So that I committed really quick. Clemson was a no-brainer, but then when this happened, man, everything really went crazy. The professional scouting process is a whole lot deeper um, than the college process. So, started sitting down right after that tournament. I mean, I'll never forget the first scout I spoke to right after that game was a guy by the name of Billy Best with the Atlanta Braves, um, and had the opportunity to sit down with scouts like him in house with my parents. Rest in peace to Perry Smith. Like he was a guy that sat in my house. He recently passed away. He was a scout with the Reds, but a guy that I really got to know really well. My family got to know, and he was recently coaching in the area. Um, but
I think I've heard of him.
he's a great
I think
man.
I've heard that name. Yeah.
And he and I have stayed in contact, up until his passing over the years. We've crossed paths in coaching, and also like just when I was in pro ball, he would stay in touch with me. But no, I got to really get to know a lot of these area scouts, and then from there, I got to meet, uh, the head of scouting for teams and their cross checkers, and it was a whirlwind of just a lot of people you're meeting as a 17-year-old, and being asked a lot of questions. I mean, my parents, it was a process for them too, because it was like every few days we're sitting down in our home hosting someone. Then it turned into sitting down with advisors, potential agents, and that's like, I mean, people that think, just their regular high school life is tough. It's like try doing all that, keeping your grades up so you keep your academic scholarship chances to a college at that time, which my parents were really big on, to also then staying on top of your game for, my performance reasons. I had to keep staying
Yeah.
good to impress these guys, but then taking the time during my already busy schedule to like fill out questionnaires for these scouts that are, they take me a couple hours long to sit down because you're having to write out all these things, questions pertaining to kind of your mental status. They have to make sure you're not a crazy person that they're going to try and invest a whole bunch of money into. So it helped me
That's
mature a
got to be
lot.
a lot for a 16 or 17-year old too.
Yeah,
Just taking all that in.
yeah, and I mean, you really very quickly understand that you're about to walk into a business um, of baseball. I mean, it's surreal, and I can kind of understand now too, even with the NIL stuff and some of the stuff with where college baseball is going now. The recruitment process has changed for those guys as well. Like, there's a lot more to consider. But pro ball is just another monster, especially. I mean, there's a lot of pressure coming from the Clemson coaches. That's tough because you're still, I didn't want to make them feel like I didn't want to be a part of that, you know.
Yeah,
But but yeah, man, I had to mature very quickly. I had to learn how to carry conversations with these guys in a way to where they could see a future, um, not just prospect, but like person that would represent their organization well. Um, and my parents raised me well. Like I was a kid that they didn't have to worry about off the field. Um, I never was a guy that partied in high school, and I wasn't necessarily the coolest guy on campus because I couldn't have a social life. I was so driven on what I wanted to do from an early
you
age.
just focused on what you wanted to focus on.
Yeah, and I did have some girlfriends, so like they would get any bit of time that I had left. So, but yeah, so ended up getting drafted in the fourth round in 2006. I had kind of told scouts. I mean, there was a point where I was the number two overall left-handed pitching prospect. Clayton Kershaw was ranked higher than me by Baseball America at that time. But my especially when that came out by Baseball America, I remember the newspaper article. Um, things that was when like things went really crazy. Um, and
Everything probably took off after that for you.
yeah, and so that was when I knew I kind of had to secure like an advisor. Um, and I went with the greatest guys I could have, the Bledsoe brothers, the Bledsoe agency. They represent a lot of big guys now, but they had nobody at that time, and just
I think I've heard of them. Yeah,
they're the best dudes, man. They were in my wedding, and they were there for me, like, during the high school process for sure, but I mean, anything I needed. They were always on the phone with me after games in pro ball. Like, they were the real dudes that they promised me when I sat down with them. And a lot of guys can't always say that. They just become a number in an agency. But they took me on when they really didn't have any big guys. They had a guy, Justin Smoke, that many people probably know. He played in the
oh
big
yeah,
leagues with, Blue
yeah.
Jays and I think some other team,
He had a really good
Mariners. Um,
career down
yeah,
in South Carolina.
exactly. So they had
Really
him,
good.
and that was really like that was their guy at the time, and so they made me feel like a really special player to them. And so at that time, like I started having to decide, like, well, how much money is gonna keep me from going to Clemson? Um, and I'll never forget a conversation I had with Kevin O'Sullivan, who during this time I told him that I was struggling with what I was gonna do. Um, and he asked me straight up, he's like, "Well, why are you coming to Clemson?" And I told him because I felt like if I went there, I mean, we had the number one recruiting class in the country for the 2006 class. But I told him that I believed if I went there and I pitched there for 3 years, it would guarantee me getting drafted in the first round and put me on a fast track to the big leagues. And he said, well, there's your answer. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, most guys that tell me they want to come here, so they want to win a College World Series here. And I remember scrambling, thinking like, man, I, I do too. Like, I wanna win a college. It's not that. He's like, no, it's where your priorities are at. He's like, you want to use this as a platform for professional baseball, and I don't fault you for that at all because we can definitely do that for you. If your goal is to get drafted in the first round, I will guarantee you, man, like I believe we'll get you there. And he said, but he's like, you know, if you fell to the second round when you were here, would you be okay with that? And I was like, yeah. I mean, second round money is still gonna be great money, and that's a really quick fast track for a college guy, probably to the big leagues too, or the best chances to have that fast track. And so that's what kind of started to make me think. And I was like, well, if I can get second round money or better coming out of high school, then I'm gonna jump into that. And so I got drafted in the fourth round, but me and my agents had told teams that I expected second round money, which is public knowledge, but I asked for $500,000 at that time, which in 2006 was worth a lot more than now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that was convincing money for me from the investment from the Indians, um, that I wanted to jump on that. And honestly, like it was the best thing for me. Like I got 6 years total in professional baseball, and I think the average now is like 2 to 3 years that guys get. So I got to live and experience number one that an 18-year-old hardly ever gets to live, and I got to live it for a little while. And unfortunately, I had a shoulder injury and never really recovered well from post surgery. Never bounced back, and didn't get that shot in big league camp that year. So now I've been coaching for more than twice as long as my playing career, and I'm definitely doing what I was always meant to do now. And baseball, from playing as a professional, no doubt has helped me with just having an extensive amount of knowledge that I learned really early and got to continue to build on more than most. And so I now it's cool because I get to work with a lot of guys that are at that age where my career kind of started and ended, and I'm trying to get them beyond what I was able to achieve in pro ball. Um, and man, I think I'm truly a better coach than I was player. And that says a lot because I was a very, very good baseball player. But I've definitely found my nook, and I'm kind of sticking to it, and going to see how long I can ride this coaching thing out now.
Um, a lot of people only see the highlight videos and commitment posts online. From your perspective, what really goes on behind the scenes and in the college recruiting process that most parents and players would not understand or don't understand?
So I think the number one thing that everyone should understand is that there's not a single college coach I've ever talked to that recruits a kid um, off of eyesight alone. And I say that, and we are in this age of the highlight reels, and social media has just honestly it's hurt our game in a lot of ways. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of ways it can be used to, I think, help positively influence our game, but for the most part I think it's used in all the wrong ways too often. And these coaches, yeah, they can look at your post of you hitting 90, but they might just write your name down, and then the next thing they're going to do is they're going to try and figure out people who know you or have seen you other than what they just saw you that one time, they might call a coach that they would assume has already looked at you or has heard something on you. If that coach says, yeah, I got notes on him, and that kid was like talking back to his parents, screaming at his parents after a game, he's a no for me. It's a no for that coach too. Boom, bam, done. Like, they're gonna go
Yeah.
off of their peers, their coaches that maybe they coached at another college with, maybe they came up playing with. They're gonna talk to people they know personally first. Have you looked at this kid? What do you think of him? The next thing they're gonna do, and maybe they get no feedback from that direct coach they asked, or maybe they got some good feedback. Either way, then they're gonna maybe reach out to that kid, and they're gonna ask that kid for, they probably already have his high school coach's number because most of those are already just logged away. But they're gonna ask that kid who his private coach is, who his travel ball coach is, organization, and who a good contact would be next for them. And then they're going to ask those guys questions. And you'll get some coaches in that moment that don't have experience with this. And maybe that kid isn't really a good kid. And that coach that works with them says, oh, this is a great kid. You want him. If that coach goes off of that and that kid turns out to be terrible, that bridge will end up being burned now between that coach and the other.
Yeah.
So, for me, when I get that opportunity, and I talk to college coaches a lot, I have my guys reach out to me saying, hey, I'm talking to this school. They asked me for my private pitching coach and these, can I send them your email and number? I'm like, of course. So once I get to that step, I'm going to be brutally honest with that coach. And the reality is, most of my guys that are at that stage where they're asking me if they can send it, they have nothing to worry about what I'm going to say with them. But I'm always honest with my players. If I have guys that, are kind of streaky or inconsistent, maybe one day a coach could show up and see them well, but then they're going to crap the bed, 3 outings in a row, and that coach only saw him once. If that coach called me based on that one outing, I'm going to tell him that kid struggles with being consistent. Because had he seen him the other times, he would have got to see that. So I can't lie for the kid, right?
Yeah.
So these coaches are
Because like you were
trusting.
saying,
Go ahead.
I was just saying, like you were saying earlier, if you end up lying for the kid, then you don't want to burn that bridge with that scout or whoever you're talking to.
Yeah, without a doubt. Because look, I let my guys know, number one, you give me your all, you will always have that from me, reflected back to you. But I will never stick my neck out for anyone and risk my reputation at this point, because it's what gives me a lot of value in this whole industry. The moment I start, trying to just get college commitments to my name, I could just get a whole bunch of coaches to take chances on guys that I don't know are good or not, but that's not the name of this game. These coaches are truly looking for a guy that they know can step in right away and gel with their program and not need their hand
Make
to
an
be
impact.
held.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Make an impact right away.
yeah, because I think I told you about this recently, but this can lead us into the next thing I know we want to touch on. But I tell these guys all the time, you're gonna go into this completely on your own, and I think that is another misconception sometimes in this recruiting process. If you do get lucky enough to sit down with one of these college programs and they are telling you that they want you to come to your school, I can promise you all the sweet things that coach tells you in that sit down, whether they're talking to me, the number one left-handed prospect for the 2006 class, or a kid who's not on anybody's radar and hasn't put up good stats, but like they're all gonna get sold that you're gonna get there and we think you can play right away. We really think you could fight for a spot. Okay, that's what I was told. And I knew I could fight for a spot. I didn't need them to convince me. That was something I believed because I knew I was ready for it. But a lot of kids just want to be told that. And you will get told that. I don't care what
Yeah.
school you're sitting down with. Like that's what the college recruiter should do to get you to want to go there. And it's not a lie. I mean, it's not. But it's also like it'll give kids a lot of false hope. Um, but yeah, they will give you. They do kind of think you could go there and fight for a job. They're not recruiting you unless they do like you. But to tell you that they think you're going to beat out some junior or seniors that just signed in the portal, uh,
Yeah, that's
you better show up
yeah.
ready to go if that's the case. So I put that on the player, and he needs to understand that he needs to continue to work really hard, even when you do make that commitment or even sign that line to go to that school. Like you're not on the team. Like you're not playing. You
Yeah.
have to beat the guys that are at least 2 years older than you right now and be outworking those guys. So, but also from the parents' perspective, that coach is going to look those parents straight in the eye, just like they did my parents, and they're going to say, "We're gonna take such great personal care of your child. We're going to make sure he develops. We're going to see this, that, and the other." And that's not necessarily a lie either, but I told you this that a famous phrase that is said amongst me and my college and now some of my pro guys is figure it out. I know that a lot of
Yeah.
my college freshmen, when they get on campus and they're not getting opportunities to pitch in game, um, they're not having the coach come down and watch their bullpens sometimes, or they'll have an assistant of like an assistant overseeing some bullpens that isn't giving any feedback or any valuable feedback sometimes. Um, and then, this kid that I'm working with wants to get on that field and goes to that coach and says, "Coach, what I need to do to get opportunity?" And they'll look them straight in the face and say, "Figure it out." It's just a common phrase. And the irony is that kid's going to that coach seeking a way to figure it out. It's like, figure what out? And that's the thing is whatever it is, you're finding it on your own. You got to figure out what you got to do to throw the best you can possibly throw that ball, or swing the bat the best you possibly can. Square that ball up as many times as you can, and really make that coach's eyes open to you, or you're not going to get your opportunity. So a lot of guys get stuck that freshman year with not a lot of guidance, and that's where I'm starting to meet a lot of my athletes now is after their freshman year in college, especially a lot of the junior college guys. Um, they're getting there and realizing that they haven't been prepared up to that point to know how to figure it out on their own and have good daily routines and good feels for and they're stuck. And then they're going into that next year and they're like, man, like I can't go another year at JUCO and not develop. And I've had really good success, like helping those guys that go into their sophomore year of junior college, having a way better plan of what to do throughout the entirety of that potentially last season in JUCO and make something of it and get themselves an
Yeah.
opportunity to play at something beyond that. So, um, I know a lot of coaches are encouraging a lot of guys to go the JUCO route. That's really popular right now. But I try and also let parents know with that, know that you're limited to 2 years of that. So if your kid's not ready to step into really working hard for 2 years, it might be JUCO and done.
Yeah.
So it can be a great launching pad. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm encouraging a lot of my guys right now that just need a couple more years post high school to continue to develop physically and mentally and get some exposure against some college bats. And then knowing that I'm going to help them work hard through those first 2 years, like I'm getting a lot of guys signed to some great schools and great academic opportunities, not just, great baseball opportunities, but guys are putting themselves in positions to get really solid degrees from solid universities. So, um, but yeah, I mean,
Well,
sorry.
it's just like you were talking about earlier with the guys out of high school, uh, uh, instead of going Division 1 or Division 2 and going the JUCO route.
Hmm.
It for some kids it sort of makes more sense because being a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old with this new, well, not new anymore, been around 3 or 4 years, but with the transfer portal and the NIL now, you have graduate students and like 22 and 23 year olds that you have to compete with as soon as you arrive on campus as a 17 or 18 year old.
Yeah, and it's also like, I mean, to your point, I mean, you're getting a lot of guys that are getting hurt now in college around that freshman sophomore year. So they're going to get a medical red shirt a lot of times for that, which gets them another year. So, I think we talked about this together, but one thing my dad always told me, and I'm just thinking about this now because I feel like I would have had to expand on this, but my dad used to always say you have to be better than guys that are 2 years older than you. Um, he was like, if you're a sixth grader, like trying to compete on a middle school team, you'd have to beat out the eighth graders to play on that team. If you're coming in as a freshman in high school and you want to make the varsity team, well, who's going to hold those spots? It's going to be juniors and seniors. So you better at least be better than those guys that are juniors, 2 years older than you, and or just expect to not play at that level. So by the time I got to my junior year, that's I'd already committed to Clemson. I still had in my mind like, okay, this junior year, this is when I texted Kevin O'Sullivan saying like, what do I got to do to be a two-way guy? Like, and I asked him, I said, who is your slowest outfielder right now? And that guy ran a 6'9", and I was like, I'm gonna run a 6'8", and he laughed at me, but I ran a six. It was this makes me look bad, but it was a 6'7" 8" or 6'7" 960, but I ran a sub 6'8" 60, and so, that's where my drive was though. It's like I was looking at the guys that could possibly still have a job at that school, and ironically, the guy that he told me was a freshman at the time. So I was really comparing the slowest guy in their outfit was a freshman. I was a junior in high school. Well, that guy was going to be a junior by the time I was a freshman. So if he didn't get any faster, I was going to be ready to beat him for a spot there. Now you look at it from the perspective you just mentioned, and you got these guys that are, in their mid 20s, and you're a 17, some of these kids are graduating high school 17, going on 18. You got a guy that's 5 years older than you that you're expecting to go to a big D1 program and take that guy's job.
Yeah.
Like, much less 4, 3, 2 years older than you. Um, but it is just so rare. Like my guys that are at any bigger schools that have gotten any opportunities as freshmen, I'm like, take it as a blessing because you are of the smallest portion of guys that are getting a chance to play this year in college baseball. Um, so yeah, I think people need to be very clear that if you're just comparing yourself right now to the guys that are on your team and you're expecting to go into college baseball and play as a freshman, you are you're not in the right state of mind. You're not going to be
Probably
ready
not
for
going to
that.
happen.
No,
Yeah.
well, I mean, you're definitely not. I definitely don't believe you're going to be ready to compete with those guys those next year if you're staying on that level. So that's my own personal opinion. It worked for me, and again, that's what I've told even my 9-year-olds that I work with. Try and go out there and play against the 11-year-olds that are in your neighborhood. So what if you
Yeah.
lose? Like, start now. That's what I did. I had kids. I grew up in a good neighborhood of like boys that were all kind of close in age, and man, was it like the best experience that I could have had becoming a better athlete was just playing outside with like 8 to 10 boys, all within 3, 4, maybe years of age of each other, and it was a heck of a childhood. But a lot of kids don't have that anymore, and they only hang out with their crowd and they only compete or play with the same travel teams all the time from beginning to end, and they're all buddies, but I always looked at it as like I want somebody else's job. So, but not all guys take it to that level at that young of an age like I did. So, but if you want to go play in serious college baseball right now, you better be a very seriously self-motivated person. Um, have an internal drive that most don't have. Or yeah,
So you're pretty much saying that I guess another word for it would be that you need to be what they call a self-starter.
yeah. I mean, if you can't flip the switch on and you need someone to hold your hand on a daily basis, like I said, you're gonna show up there looking for your hand to be held, and they're gonna say, "Figure it out, or you're gone." They'll tell you they'll either let you go because it's just year to year. There's no more. Just like kids can pick up and leave when they want to go into the portal because they're not happy. As soon as the coach isn't happy with you, you're gone too. I mean, there's no guarantees.
Yeah,
It's year to year. So,
yeah,
you might again when you show up there again, they know. Like I'm saying, like this is how I prepare my guys. I'm not saying this is how every guy going in is prepared. The majority aren't. That's why majority of freshmen don't play. But guys that all through high school were always trying to not just outwork their peers, but they were already looking to take someone's job years ahead of them. Like they're showing up as freshmen and they're getting a chance. And that's all that matters. If you get a chance your freshman year, they'll probably keep you around the next year. If they don't give you a chance your freshman year, they're not going to waste their time on you your sophomore year. They'll get someone in the portal that put up stats the previous year, plug them in instead because they have proof of work. Um, and yeah, it's the Wild West, man, in college baseball. So if you're not ready to come in gunslinging,
especially
um,
now, like we were talking about earlier, with the transfer portal and NIL. Now it's what it's done is it's brought a whole different dimension now into college athletics.
yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the reality is like, I told you, like my signing bonus was $500,000. I mean, I know of guys in baseball that are getting $200,000 NIL deals for baseball plus a full ride. Well, I would have taken that deal because if I would have been at Clemson for 3 years at $200,000 a piece, that's 600 grand right there. It would have been a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah,
So again, like, yeah, it would have, that would have made me take someone's spot at Clemson versus going into Pro Bowl. Um, I would have been that competitive if I had these opportunities. So these kids that don't see that in front of them, plus you get your college paid for. I mean, with the amount of scholarships they're able to give now, the more full scholarships they have, um, plus NIL, and that's to some degree, I feel like unlimited for whoever's able to get it. Um, man, it, I can't imagine a 13-year-old me or 12-year-old me being told that I could make $200,000 a year to go play at Clemson, much less, still had the opportunity to go into Pro Bowl. I would have worked even harder. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's great opportunity, but just know, like, it's not given, it's earned. 100%. So,
I know travel ball is a hot topic these days. What are your thoughts on travel ball?
it's mixed. When I first got into coaching after I finished up with Indians, I jumped in. Back then it was HQ for baseball in Charlotte. And I believe HQ4 is still doing. I don't. We had a lot of teams back then. I don't believe they're doing teams anymore, but there's still a facility. And yeah, I worked under this guy Al Dahlgren, and I had the opportunity right away to coach 9U baseball for travel ball, which I was just. I'll be honest with you, like was one of the hardest things to do throughout my entire career was going from watching the best baseball players in the world that already knew all the fundamentals and all the situational stuff and didn't need a whole lot of critiquing on swings or throws to 9-year olds. And mind you, I agreed to coach two teams at the same time, which was whatever. um, but
So I guess what you're saying is you did a complete 180.
complete. And I
You did
but
a
it,
complete 180.
But I tell you what, it was the best thing I could have ever done, man, because it made me really have to dive in instantly to what being a coach is. I had to get down to the most basic ways of thinking about trying to get these 9-year olds to understand. One, like I've always been a tough love coach. I'm a tough love father. Um, I think we need more of that in this world these days, and that's where one thing I think travel ball's having a hard time. I see a lot of people that have they don't like having a tough love coach. They don't like having their child honestly just be held accountable. That's the way I look at it. Is I told your child that this is what the expectations were from my team, not for them as an individual, but they as an individual, are showing their emotions a certain way that I don't tolerate, and I'm gonna call them out for that. Or they're gonna lack effort in something where that's something that you can't coach no matter what, so it's always expected. Um, but it's little things, and you know what? Like I still talk to these. I mean, now they're all. I have guys that have graduated college now from that team. Recently, I talked to one of my players, Brady Davidson, who was on that team, um, and he's graduated from Auburn University now. And we just texted recently, and it's so crazy to me that he's like 23 now, so that was 14 years ago that I started coaching that kid. And that team that he was on, like a lot of those guys played in college, and a lot of them gave me a lot of credit for that because I was that guy from an early age that really helped them get going. And then from that point forward, like I continued like doing some things here and there. Like I started my own travel ball teams in Charlotte. I When I moved to Charleston, I started my own travel ball team. Um, I helped start Shipyard Park. I was a huge reason why Shipyard Park was built
Okay.
there. Um, I got to coach a lot of great players, and I lived in Mount Pleasant, which is actually where I was born. Um, but my ex-wife and I decided to move down to Charleston before we had kids, and I went into that. Just she and I both went into that basically knowing we were only going to be there while we didn't have children. We knew we wanted to raise our children back home, which we ultimately ended up doing, amongst some other reasons. Um, but I had an opportunity to coach some youth teams there, and I had such an amazing experience with those players, and got such great results through it that I was approached to help start Shipyard Park. My teams were called the Carolina Fleet back then. Um, My ex-wife helped design a logo concept for Shipyard Park when we first started it, and they're kind of using a similar concept to that to this day, which is really cool. So I have a lot of ties in the baseball community there, but I'll tell you, like, I no matter what, even no matter what, when I've had success, no matter what area I've been in, no matter what age group of travel ball I've had success in, there's always been negatives about it too. Whether, and it's majority I had great experiences with players and families, but with opposing teams and people getting so caught up in it's really parents, quite honestly, like living through their children, and tying a lot of their almost like family value and how their child looks in that setting. It's very much a social club. It's kind of um, it can get kind of nasty between families, and I hate seeing that. And it's like it should just be about the players learning the
Well, that's
value of baseball.
just like that video that you sent me this today about Tom Clavin
Hmm.
talking about travel, and I think he pretty much just touched on pretty much everything that you just said in about the last probably 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, to his point though, it's like we ruin a lot for these kids as the adults. Where we don't want the kids to learn the tough lessons. Um, it comes down to playing time, and we're going to switch teams because we're unhappy with how my kid's dynamic is happening on this team. And it's like, well, you could look at that. Like I'll, I want to tell this quick story because it's like there was a kid that was on that Carolina Fleet team, and ultimately his dad is who built Shipyard Park, and his name was John Allen Stewart, and I had so much respect for John Allen and his parents with our travel ball team. And it's because John Allen was by far the weakest player talent wise on that entire team. And it was just unfortunate for him that the team we put together was just loaded with really good players. And then we were able to get some really good local players to kind of join in on us. But I never gave up John Allen's roster spot because I witnessed that kid learn so much from pushing himself all the time. He was not a kid that like put a ton of value in his like I'm not gonna say not a ton of value, but like he didn't get upset when he didn't get playing time because he understood that like he was still getting better, right? Like the guys that he was playing with and practicing with were pushing him to have to go to a different standard of his play. And so he still got an opportunity to play in high school for his high school team because honestly, like he stuck with that team of guys that pushed him early on, even though he get to play. Um, and his parents would have talks with me about it all the time and would continue to tell me because I started feeling guilty at times about the kid not getting in as much as I felt he even deserved. But I also stayed true to how the game works, and the best players are going to get the most reps and in game. And I made my practices competitive every week, so every guy felt like they had a chance to fight for a spot. And he always fell up short. And I think them seeing me like allowing him to stick to that and them seeing that I stayed true to that is the only reason they ever approached me to coming in with them on Shipyard Park and getting that started in the first place. So I think travel ball is not typically like my experience, honestly, with my players and parents that I've had. I've seen it really ruin a lot of players, unfortunately, before they even had a chance to be good. I've seen kids that coaches just overlook instantly and aren't gonna give that kid a chance to actually develop. They'll call themselves a developmental team or program. They'll continue to still only try and run out their best players, even though they're not that great of a team themselves. And the players that showed signed up for the developmental part aren't developing. The players that are starting all the time aren't developing. And it's like, well, where's the coaching? I understand people that get lucky and they just get a whole crew of really talented players all on one team and you're going to a showcase tournament. I understand there not needing to be a lot of coaching in that element. You're just a manager, right? You're a
Yeah.
manager of talent. Um, that's easy. But if you're going to coach youth baseball, you're not a manager. You're a coach and an instructor and a teacher and um, those are the guys that I expect to like teach these guys how to grow in this game and how to learn from failure. Not just like if you fail, you're off the team and we're not winning games, so we're going a different route. Or it's man, we make it way too much about the wins and losses and not about celebrating the wins and learning from the losses. Like they're gonna happen, and great baseball teams get beat all the time, and it's like the competition, I don't know. It's different than when I played travel ball too. I mean, we have so many teams in travel ball now. I've seen certain organizations carry like 7 teams in one age group and only one of them are what I would consider like a travel ball team. The rest I would consider like developmental teams or just like keep playing in
Rec
rec
teams.
ball. I mean,
Yeah, rec
but
teams.
like that's the thing is like people social status wise now, rec ball is not sexy. Like my kid's in rec ball, he's not a good athlete, but it's like I played rec ball like till I was 11. Like I did some travel ball tournaments when I was 10 and 11 too, but I still played in my rec league because it was super competitive and I was trying to make an all-star team and all the all-star teams were good if you made that all-star team. And now it's like we don't have a lot of people that want to really coach and mentor in youth baseball for the recreation level. Um, I will tell you, like my son right now, Rawlings, he's 5. We've got him in recreation baseball right now, and I go out there to the practices, and I didn't tell any of the dads what I do for a living. I just kind of tried to say, hey, I'll be out here and help out. Um, but man, like I had a talk with Rawlings the other day because we had a post game practice. Rawlings had a great practice. Rawlings is a great baseball player. He loves it. I just love watching him out there. But I'm also going to be that dad that's going to start to teach him. Like, I don't want to be his coach, but I want to see his interactions with these coaches and I want to see how he respects their time. They're coming out there, yeah, for their own childs, but man, they're getting paid nothing. They don't get paid
Oh
hourly
yeah.
like I get paid to coach someone. So, like, I can tell these men are coaching like from here. I coach from here now and I get paid for that, but these guys are like really truly coaching these young, brand
Coaching
new
from the
baseball
heart. Yeah.
100%. And I respect them and I'm going to continue to tell them I respect them for that. But the other day after the practice, typically Rawlings is really good at, you know, listening to adults when they talk to him, at least, when I witness them. And but that day, his teammates
I
in the
like how
post
you
game,
named your son. I like how you named your son Rawlings.
yeah, yeah. My daughter's name is Oakley, and Rawlings, and I actually named my daughter. We named my daughter after one of the players that was on my Carolina Fleet team in Charleston, Oakley Aguilar, who plays baseball at Radford University now. One of my favorite players I've ever coached. He's just one of the greatest kids ever. He was a great ball player. He was the smallest kid on my team, but like the hardest worker, and he continues to show that at Radford too. But yeah, we named my daughter after him. I still have on my phone a famous picture from when she was a baby and him holding her in his uniform. It's really cool. But yeah, but with Rawlings though, after that practice, like he started kind of like getting a little restless when the coach was telling them to take a knee. And mind you, this is 5 to 7 year olds, and Rawlings is one of I think 3 5 year olds on this team. So he's definitely more on the immature side, or he should be. Um, but after that post game meeting, when he was kind of being a little bit disruptive and making some noises, I pulled him aside and I said, "Hey, listen, I need you to understand with that when any of these coaches talk to you, they need to have all of your attention. You're not to be goofing off. You're not to be laughing and joking and making noises or playing in the dirt. When that person has something to say to you, you need to value it because it is valuable. They are trying to teach you things I want you learning. It's things I would say to you, and I know you wouldn't be doing that if I was talking up there, but that's also why I'm trying not to be the coach. I want to be his dad and I want to teach him from his dad's perspective. Like he knows I'm a coach. He knows I'm going to teach him everything, but he knows I'm never going to get mad at him when he strikes out. He knows, like if he makes an error, like I 100%, it's crazy, but I know I'm not going to get upset with him. I'm going to get upset with him on how he carries himself. That's it. That's what he's going to know. Like how you represent yourself during that game, leaving that game, when you arrived at that game, like that's where I need everyone seeing the man behind the ball player. And that's what this game can teach a lot of these kids if we just allow it to happen, man. And I think travel ball can be great for that. I think we need to get back to that.
I guess we sort of already touched on this. We don't have to spend too much time on this because we already touched on it. But when when guys are making the transition from high school to college baseball, what's the biggest adjustment that they make?
So excuse me. So I think the most important thing that they need to adjust is just number one, daily routines. I think you need to be someone who has to some degree almost daily rituals. It's super important for our games, especially as many games as baseball players play in season compared to others. We have to be able to get our minds back to neutral. Um, and so a lot of people think, the daily routines of doing your mobility routines or your throwing routines, it's all physical. No, it helps our central nervous system, our brains, our bodies, um, build confidence throughout a season and learn um, to deal with the ups and downs of the failure of our sport because that's what it is. Baseball players are known for having superstitions. And that's not what I'm talking about with this, but at the same time, I do try and get my guys to be like, hey, if there's a day you're not doing something, it needs to feel superstitious about it. Like you need to get something in today or else. And so I think just like having a good grasp on what your body needs day to day, and this is not something that's like a blanket cover across the board. There's plenty of programs out there. Like I'm very different. Like I program truly all of my guys individually. So players that work with me have the luxury, I guess you could say it, of like really knowing what they need specifically to help them between the ears, to help them from a flexibility, mobility, strength. If there's certain drills or cues that help get them back in their flow. Those are things you need to have dialed in because again, like I told you, these guys are alone. They are on their own, and you're expected to figure it out when you get there. They're going to give you your shot, and if you look like you know what you're doing your freshman year and you go out there and you're showing proof that you can repeat things and look consistent and you're consistently doing same things on a daily basis, like that's what coaches are really hyper focusing on is
Looking for.
yeah, who's
Yeah.
looking to be told what to do and who is already doing it. Um, I think that's the biggest adjustment because I think a lot of high school baseball players are waiting on even their high school coach during practice to go tell them what to do. Um, and that's okay because again, that's still part of their learning curve during that time. But understand that like the time is ticking, and if you're trying to make that transition from high school to college, you you gotta have it all learned by the time you graduate high school.
Sort of like you just touched on there with the high school coaches are still trying to get the players to be self-starter. Some of the coaches that I've talked to recently, that's what they've harped on is what they want is they want their players to be self-starters rather than having to direct them on what to do when they get out on the field for practice. And uh, I guess what I'm getting at is what the coaches want is they want the players to know exactly what they need to work on rather than the coaches having to be there, I guess, for a lack of a better term, a babysitter.
Yeah, so I think to that point too, it's like I tell my guys, don't go to the coach with what do I need to do? Go to him, here's what I'm doing, where can you direct me with this? It's like you're already showing that you have that initiative or that drive to be working on something that you've recognized needs to improve. And they may or may not have recognized that themselves. But when you give them something to look at that you want help on, that's where you're more likely to get that coach to jump in. If you're just asking him to go watch a whole bunch of your swings or a whole bunch of your pitches and try and tell you what to do, he doesn't have time for that.
Yeah,
I do. It's what I do for a living. So like, yeah, this I encourage you to come to me if you're really clueless and you need me to get the eyes on you to kind of help you identify where things are at. Like, but I teach all my guys, like, I don't want to have to work with you a lot. That means I'm not coaching you well. You need to learn to become your own coach, start to look for your own tendencies you have as an athlete, certain things that cloud your mind, certain situations that typically turn up and you start to stress over it. Like I help guys get aware of that stuff. So yeah, they're not blindsided when it happens when they get to college. They know how to manage it. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I mean, self-starters, guys should always have energy about them. Like I know a lot of coaches like yeah, they don't want to have to motivate you. They're willing to motivate you, but it's more of like they want to match your energy. Um, so yeah, I definitely agree with. I think a lot of us coaches see eye to eye that we need a lot more self-motivators, self-starters in this game.
yeah. Take us through the day-to-day life of a minor league player.
Oh man, so it's gonna vary level by level, but for the most part, I mean, if you're in season, typical game's gonna start 7 o'clock at night. Um, you'll have some of your day games on the weekends, but I was a starting pitcher, so I'll kind of give you what I would do. If it was a day of my start, I'm typically getting to the clubhouse that day and eating my lunch between like 12 and 1-ish, somewhere in there. Um, typically, I'm gonna let my food settle for a bit, probably just listening to some music. I'm looking over charts for the game that day. Like I'm just kind of finding a couch, finding a leather chair somewhere, and just posting up there to look at my scouting report, at least for, first six batters. Um, and then from there, I'm usually going to my training room, to start to just get a rub down from my trainer. Um, I usually like to get my rub down like a good amount before my game, so I was usually doing that probably around 2 o'clock ish. So that's about 5 hours before the game. But I always did that because I wanted it to like kind of come back to normal ish. Like sometimes it would almost feel too good if I did it too
Yeah.
close to the game, and it'd give me kind of a false sense of being, I feel like. But yeah, and I was always real specific with my trainers about how I wanted that amount of pressure, all that. But I had my good routine for that. And then usually I'm getting like a snack in a little later, um, pregame snack, and around 5 o'clock is when I'm gonna really start getting prepped about 2 hours before. Um, So that's pretty simple stuff. Like obviously that's like getting my uniform on and getting suited up and then heading out to the field. I had like a whole band routine I did. I had a med ball routine I do, stretching routine, this that, and the other, and then I'd have my catch play, um, leading up to my bullpen. But um, some guys aren't showing up to the ballpark until you know maybe 3 o'clock. They might have BP at 4. Um, but it's pretty laid back. Now, I will tell you the worst part about minor league baseball, especially if you're not at least in Double A, and maybe this has changed by now, but when I played, you had really crappy bus rides.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when I was with the Lake County Captains in Low A, we had a trip where we went, I believe it was 14 hours from Ohio to Georgia
Oh
and then
wow.
back. And then we went Ohio to Kannapolis and then back. And then we went Ohio to Georgia again. We went to Rome once and Augusta another time. Um, and yeah, I mean, it was miserable, man, especially if you're a rookie on the team, you're two to a seat. And I came up, me and Chris Archer. He was a fifth round draft pick by the Indians. I was a fourth round draft pick by the Indians. Both of us were North Carolina boys. We had played some together in high school, and so we were like this coming up through pro ball. And he and I just kind of moved up the ladder around the same time, so we were always rookies stuck in the same seat with each other. But it was always him and I cuddled up and um, leaning up against each other to sleep and feeling like crap getting to a hotel room sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning. Um, but I did love, I honestly though, like I loved the hotel life. I loved traveling to different towns. I loved just seeing the country. That was something up until that point I really hadn't done a whole lot of. Like I hadn't done a whole lot of traveling until I got to pro ball. So I really enjoyed it. But it definitely, it's not the rainbows and butterflies that they have up in the big leagues, not in the minor leagues by any means.
I know. I know some people, just like you were talking about, some people, I don't think they understand the 14 and 15-hour bus rides.
No, yeah, and usually we'd pretty much always, if we had a road trip like that, we're watching Major League and Major League Two. We only watched Major League Three back to the minors, I think, maybe once, and we all agreed like never again. But I mean, pretty much any Cleveland Indians minor league team, you were always watching one of the major league movies on a bus trip. I mean, it's still one of my, I watched it recently, man. It's still one of my favorite movies, and it's cool. It's just cool being a part of that organization from that movie for me. Like, it's a lot of people's favorite baseball movie, and it was special to us as players. So,
Sorry. Yeah, talk about a crazy travel story that you had in the minors.
Crazy travel story. I don't know that some of them would be appropriate for this.
Oh,
I've got plenty of stories, but I'm trying to think, man. I'll tell you a really wild story that happened to me in Pro Bowl. So I was with Chris Archer. We were at he and I both were starting pitchers, and a lot of people don't know this, but back then the starting pitchers that weren't throwing typically went up in the stands to do charts for the pitchers that were throwing. So you'd have like one guy on radar gun, the other guy would be on like a ThinkPad, just like charting pitches, and we'd be writing in the velo because we didn't have TrackMan and all that stuff until recently. So me and Chris Archer in the stands at our home field in Kinston, North Carolina, and we're sitting right behind home plate like we always do to get the radar gun set up, and I just happened to look, and the net right in front of me had like a little slit, like a little hole cut in the backstop net. And I'll never forget looking over at Archer, and I was like, bro, what are the chances a ball comes through that spot right there? And he goes, 100%, 100%. And we kind of laughed it off. So we get to the eighth inning of this game, and we were playing. It was the White Sox organization. I can't remember which team it was, but they had this like flame throwing setup guy. He was like 97, 99, and he was facing our catcher, Richard Martinez. And he threw one 97 because I had it on the gun, and Richard Martinez fouled it straight back. And the next thing I remember is me just and getting all the air knocked out of me. And I remember Chris Archer sitting right next to me, just dying laughing because he thought that I got scared and flinched really bad. And I looked at him and he's laughing, and I'm like trying to tap him, like, no, no, no. Oh, God, I can't breathe. Well, obviously the ball had gone through, hit me, fractured two of my ribs.
oh,
We had to get like our trainer to come up into the stands and help walk me out. Like I couldn't even, it hurt so bad. Um, I'll never forget it, but I ended up having like internal bleeding, had to get x-rays done. All they could do was just kind of like wrap me up, and let it
wrap you up.
heal.
Yeah.
But yeah, somewhere on the internet, man, there was some kind of, I don't know what it was, like a blog page something, and our trainer from that staff posted on this random site just that story. I'll have to find it someday because I feel like it's just cool to reminisce
That's
that way and
wild,
tell.
man.
But yeah, so that was I don't know many guys that have had that experience in the minor leagues.
Yeah. Tell us about the OTX exclusive program. What makes it different from what most players are used to?
So yeah, OTX, I'm over at Overtime Fitness, and we've got an amazing facility there. We've got a 25,000 square foot facility for starters, climate controlled. We've got a state-of-the-art weight room with better equipment than I even had access to when I was in Pro Ball. We're continuously adding more and more stuff to that area as well. We've got a 9,000 square foot turf area that's outfitted with both full length and half batting cages. Everything's fully retractable, so we can open up the full 9,000 square foot of that space. And we do a lot of other stuff in there outside of baseball with me. I mean, we have really great football coaches, soccer coaches. We have we have some of the craziest stuff actually happen at our facility at times. We've had cheerleading squads come in and rent out our space, and we had a tandem skiing group come in and do like a pyramid practicing for like their ski team on the water. Is pretty cool.
That's nuts.
So yeah, I mean, we have a really unique setup, number one. But outside of just like the turf and the weight room there, I mean, we have state-of-the-art recovery stuff at our facility as well. We're getting ready to start having full-time PT on staff. So we'll be having, physical therapists that can treat any of our athletes of any sports for, any pain, any injuries. But we also have red light therapy rooms. We have red light sauna, cold plunge tubs. We have privacy showers. We have ready-made meals that are brought in fresh every day. We have a partnership with Supreme Nutrition, so we have access to any supplements you could need. So, I mean, truly, what separates us and what do we do more than most programs? One, we have access to a one-stop shop at our place. This is my first experience being in a non-traditional baseball travel ball facility, which is honestly my favorite thing about it. We are there for training. We are there for the guys that are ready to try and push themselves 2 years older and beyond. Um, we
Take the
have
next
a
step.
Yeah, we already have a
Yeah.
number of current collegiate and professional athletes that have been training there under me since I got there late in 2025 recently. Um, but as far as like what we're getting ready to launch with OTX, one, we have a wide range of ages we're going to be able to work with for athletes. So, whether you are trying to pursue that professional or collegiate level, like obviously we want to be able to provide that service because there's not a lot of that out there. But for our youth athletes, number one, I think we're different because we are going to highly encourage kids to go back to doing multi sports. Um, I think we've really gotten lost with that. I think we are crazy convincing ourselves that having a kid just do baseball from the beginning is going to make him a better baseball player. I was a great athlete that chose baseball. My son's going to be a great athlete that chooses whatever sport he decides to do. I'm not going to force baseball on him. Like, I want him to learn himself as an athlete. I want him to learn his body. I want him to have to be put just like I was, and like sometimes some awkward stuff. Like, I wasn't the greatest basketball player, but I learned to be a better basketball player because of that.
Yeah.
Baseball came very natural to me. So if that's all I did and I never really struggled, what happens when I start struggling? Like, I can get burnt out on baseball a lot of times at that point. Like, I'll give up on it as soon as things start getting tough. But if I go in another sport and I deal with some failure in basketball and maybe I get cut from a team in basketball, I didn't care that much about basketball, so that getting cut from that team didn't hurt me enough to stop pursuing sports, but it helped give me a chip on my shoulder going into the baseball season. Um, my dad was a multi-sport athlete. He wanted me to play all the sports growing up. Again, rec sports was a lot better when I was coming up. Um, and now that we're seeing a decline in that, I think we want to try and help athletes, especially like that 8, 9, 10, even up until like 12, in my opinion, like making it more sports agnostic, um, and sports specific once their body starts maturing and once their brain is recognized where they really want to apply their skills to sport. Um, I know, I mean, it's crazy because it's not secret, but if you look at most of the guys that are drafted in any sport, they didn't come up only playing that sport.
Yeah.
Especially the higher round picks, they're the best athletes. Like, typically, like, I'm not saying you can't be a guy that just plays football year round, basketball year round, or baseball year round, and not go and play in the highest level of that game. But do I think you're going to develop into an elite athlete only experiencing one dimension of athleticism? No. Baseball is a unilateral sport, number one. I think athletes need to have bilateral movements that they perfect, and that makes them better unilateral. I'm ambidextrous because my dad played racquetball when I was really young, and I started hitting my backhand with a racket when I was younger. Um, and so I just kept playing right-handed. And that was my off-season cardio for pro balls. Me and my dad would go crush like 7 games of racquetball and just be absolutely gassed. But my shoulder, like, it didn't affect my throwing arm at all. I could do it all night and not have to worry about this thing. Um,
It
but
probably helped you stay active too.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
stay
um,
active. And then the other thing is that people talk about is during the off season of whatever sport that they're playing. The reason they play other sports is so the other parts of their body can also get work in some exercise. Just take
yeah,
some of the stress off your shoulder for 2 or 3 months.
yeah, without a doubt. And I think like that's what we want to one get people to see is like at OTX, like with OTX. I mean, we're going to be providing athletes a unique opportunity. Like I said, we have a one-stop shop, so it's basically going to be a way to get people, encourage people to try and put all of those together to really maximize whatever you're training for. So, let's just take if we have um, a 16-year-old that is really going to be striving to try and make that varsity team going into the next season. He may need help on his diet, nutrition. Well, we have a nutritionist and we can build meal plans for that athlete to help him reach certain goals with that. We're going to have him sit down with our head strength coach and help lay out what areas we need to try and target and focus on improving just general strength, whether that be stability, whether that be explosiveness, um, but helping them achieve goals inside the weight room. Then we're going to have a skills coach like myself, or if we had like a football player with our football skills coach, that's going to help them from more of a sports specific and or like biomechanics standpoint and help them on a regular basis trying to dial in how they need to move their body better within the sport. And then also we're going to have them sit down with our physical therapist so that way whether it be they're just getting general treatment during the week for just some general soreness, or they'll have access to them where if we run some bumps during a season or even in the off season, we can get them back to playing quicker or back to exercise or throwing. So we're gonna have a unique kind of core of individuals that are coming together for each athlete that signs up for OTX. We'll have an initial eval that we do with them where all of those coaches I mentioned um, are able to take that info and really design personal programming for that athlete. Um, and yeah, I think we're gonna have a really cost efficient way to fully develop athletes the way they need to be developed to reach these levels they all say they want to go to. I think it's going to help put things into perspective for a lot of athletes and see what guys at the collegiate athlete have access to and what they're doing on a weekly basis, monthly basis. And also like our facilities are just as good as those at the professional level. So if you have that ambition of a college guy that is trying to push himself to that professional level, like we have a whole staff there that's going to be able to help these guys during this summer push for maybe that draft spot. So I'm really excited, man. This summer with OTX, and also I'm really excited about my baseball players that I know are going to be coming into overtime again this summer. We had a whole bunch of them come in this past winter. And although we didn't have OTX set up then, they were guys that helped us kind of drive a vision for what we want to do with OTX. So that's what I want people to understand is that a lot of what we're deriving um, our programming from, and a lot of what we're getting just like our basis curriculum from is what we witnessed a lot of these college and professional athletes do this whole off season within our own space. and we're going to be able to give that to a younger group of athletes, which is going to be really cool.
Well, from everything that you just said, it sounds like you guys are doing everything the right way at Overtime. Is it Overtime Fitness? Is that what it's?
Overtime Athletic
Is that
Club
what it's
or Overtime Athletics.
over
Um,
over
but we have
Overtime
like
Athletic Club?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And we're off Dave Lyle Boulevard um, at the Galleria Mall there in Rock Hill, um, right off the highway. Um, it's amazing, man. I mean, I know you got a chance to see it, but I mean, it's a pretty unique setup. Everything is truly like state of the art. We have really big plans for this year, no doubt, at Overtime.
Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
No, man, this was awesome, man. I really appreciate you giving me a chance to come on, tell people a little bit about myself, and let people know about Overtime and what we're planning on doing over there. I know I greatly appreciate it. Overtime appreciates that as well. And no, it's been great getting to know you, man. I'm sure I'll be seeing you some more out at some baseball games here before long, and be glad to come on and talk any other time, man.
Well, I just wanted to say I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to sit down with us today. The last thing I wanted to touch on was for everybody on social media, where can they keep up with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. It's the baseball mechanic. It's the underscore baseball underscore mechanic. Um, and that's definitely the best place. I try and get people to follow me on there. I keep my Twitter kind of limited to just like my athletes. I pretty much only use my Twitter to kind of repost guys for college coaches on there. But yeah, check me out on Instagram. Definitely put out most of my content. Be looking to put a lot more content out by this summer for guys too, especially with some of the OTX stuff we're gonna be doing. So appreciate that.
Well, like I said, thanks for taking the time. I just scheduled to sit down with us today, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Sounds great, man. I appreciate it, Tyler.